So should I eat less or work out more or both? What's the key to losing weight? In this video, I'm going to teach you the truth behind both of those things. So let's get right into it. If you are looking for even more proven tools and resources and hands-on tips on how to achieve a confident, loving relationship with your body and overcome the struggle with food, your weight, and all of the above, you can subscribe to my channel and hit the bell there to be notified every single week when I post a new video. All right, let's dive in. This is a big topic. Should I eat less or work out more to lose weight? I'm going to teach you how I was able to naturally lose weight, 15 pounds, without focusing on diet or food restriction or working out. Here's the thing. We are taught this lie that if we focus on diet and exercise, we're going to lose weight, and that's going to be the cure to all our happiness. We're also taught this other lie that as long as you lose weight, or the smaller you are, the happier you're going to be and the more confidence you're going to have. I know you know this, but we tend to fall into those traps. And then what happens is we go on the diet, we eat less, we restrict our food, we temporarily experience shifts in our body image. And then how do you really feel? No, really, I want you to tune in and just ask yourself, that time when I lost the weight or the time when I was in a smaller body, was I actually more confident? Was I inherently more happy? Was my life that much better? If your answer is no, then I'd love for you to give me a like right now to let me know that you're on the same page. For those of you that answered yes, it was it temporary or did it really last? Because chances are you were fooled into believing that changing your body is going to lead you to the life that you magically want to lead. I was stuck in this trap my whole life of feeling that if only I could change my body, lose a few pounds, have that six-pack, I would be happy. And I have proof that when I was that ideal body type that I thought I wanted to be, that I actually was more miserable than I've been in countless years. And here's why. As long as we're stuck on this train of thinking that the more we restrict our food and the more we exercise, the better we're going to feel, the more weight we're going to lose, and the happier we're going to be, we're always going to be stuck on that trap. We start to get sucked into that mentality, and then once you're on that train track, you can't get off. So even when you lose the weight, then as soon as you're in that body, you realize, oh, now I'm here. For some reason, I'm still not satisfied. I need to do more. I need to lose more. What happens if this changes? And your whole life becomes this whole cycle of obsession of I gotta focus on this. And if you're with me, then chances are that you understand that out of your total brain capacity and mental energy in a day, probably 75 and up of that is consumed with gotta exercise more. I didn't exercise enough today. I gotta do this. Oh my goodness, it wasn't even a hard enough workout. Oh, I ate too much here. I shouldn't have had that snack. Now I gotta counteract it. And pretty soon you're stuck in the sickness. And we don't realize the damage that this sickness in our mind does with our quality of life. It starts to permeate into our relationships, intimacy, and it drives this whole never enoughness where we just constantly never feel enough. So here's the real truth. If you are chronically obsessing and focusing on your diet and trying to restrict more to lose weight, and you are focusing on exercising more and more to lose weight and it's not working, that makes sense. Because we are taught by the diet industry that if we just eat less and we work out more and we really perfect this calorie deficit ratio, that we're gonna lose weight and be super happy. And there are so many myths to that I don't even possibly have time to speak about it all in this one video. And I'm an example of someone who followed that my whole life, and it only led me to depression, feeling suicidal from this whole trap, and also, like I said, achieving the body that I thought I wanted and not feeling any happier. So what I urge you to do here is to really consider that if we're only focusing on our body and our level of happiness from this metric of food and exercise, you're basically trying to solve your whole life. If we look at it as a spectrum of a circle, you're trying to solve your whole life's happiness with two small parts of the whole equation. And we make this mistake of investing all this energy on diet and exercise, a diet and exercise. And as long as I can perfect these things, the whole pie is going to change. And that's the main issue, is that we can't, it's like that classic quote from Einstein, we can't solve a problem with the same energy that created it. So often the key to our relationship with our body is outside of our relationship with food and exercise. So I can assure you that the more energy I invested in my life as a person who's chronically struggled with my body image and has been, I'm a fitness instructor, like I have so much background and education on all this stuff. And I, in my past, struggled so much with restriction, feeling like I had to be on diets. Now I got to try this intermittent fasting. Now I should just focus all on HIIT training. Like my mind became so obsessed with trying to have the perfect body, eat the perfect food. I would, go to the lengths of measuring my food, weighing it, doing all that stuff. And even when I wasn't doing that and claiming that I wasn't restricting food, my mind still couldn't get over this fixation on, analyzing what I was eating. And every day became a bargain in my mind of like, well, if I eat this, then I shouldn't do this. And if I have this drink, then I shouldn't do this tomorrow. And that actually never, ever, ever led me to losing weight. This whole myth is that the more we focus on these two things, diet and exercise, the more you are going to lose weight. And this is a much bigger conversation. When we are fixated on those two things, what happens is we drive stress and emotional distress in the body, and we, again, consume all of our mental energy with these struggles. So that whole cycle triggers this response in the body where we drive up our cortisol, we increase stress hormones in the body, we downregulate our metabolism, we decrease our quality of sleep, we mess up our energy. I am an example of someone who got adrenal fatigue and total burnout from obsessing this much on those two things. And it took my body 2 full years to heal from the insomnia, the lack of appetite, the distress, the depression, all of the above that I caused myself from fixating on those two things. Just looked in the mirror and like the things I said to myself were just so horrible. I would, truly give anything not to go through this anymore, feel it anymore. And so the truth is, what I urge you to consider in your own life is when I decided to abandon this whole farce that dieting and restricting and more exercise is going to lead you to losing weight, what happened? My body naturally lost 15 pounds. And what's important to note here is that the weight was never a part of my experience or motivation in any of this. I actually have a relationship with my body right now, thankfully, after years of healing, where I actually don't care what weight I'm at. I care about whether I'm nourished in a day, how well I slept, like all of these things that have nothing to do with measuring my food, restricting, or, over exercising or what weight I am on the scale. But the irony is real. It's like as soon as you let go of this fixation and heal those underlying thought patterns that are keeping you sick and stuck, your body does this beautiful thing where it knows where to come home to. As soon as you tune out the external noise of what you're supposed to be eating, what the diet industry tells you to do, what type of workouts are best for you, you got to be doing this and that in order to lose weight, and then it becomes your sole focus and mission in a day. As soon as you release all that and you come back into a relationship with your body and yourself, where you develop this trust and understanding, this compassion, this learning, where you get to be curious with your body and tune into your natural hunger signals and abandon, those past conditioned beliefs that like you shouldn't eat breakfast before this time, or it's best to intermittent fast, or like don't eat carbs at dinner. It's like we are taught so much crap that pollutes our minds that no wonder we get stuck and we can't move forward. The obsession is what's keeping us sick, and that is physical weight on your body. The emotional anguish and distress that we experience around food and exercise keeps us literally paralyzed where we are. So no wonder I work with so many people who say, I've tried everything and I can't lose weight. And that's because their entire lives have been fixated on this issue. So the keys to overcoming this and the keys to having a loving relationship with your body are to actually ironically abandon this fixation of losing weight and learning, okay, if I were to look at the whole spectrum that is my life, what am I currently feeling fulfilled and satisfied by? We make this mistake of thinking, if I do this for my body, like if I lose this weight, or if I eat less, or if I exercise more, then I'll be happy, then I'll be satisfied, then I will then feel confident to go out, to meet someone, or then I'll feel more confident in my work, or then I'll have the courage to stand up, or then I'll feel, more comfortable in intimacy and all of those things. We make the result of happiness is only possible when we lose the weight or when we change those things. And that is not true. That's what's keeping us stuck. By looking at the holistic picture of your life and saying, where am I allowing myself to experience joy? Where can I get off this punishment train that says you can only do this when you've lost the weight? And when you can actually focus on, what in my life do I feel fulfilled by? And how can I add more of that into my life? How can I support my mental, emotional healing? How can I decrease my stress? How can I tune in more to my natural hunger signals and develop a relationship where I actually trust my body to eat the food that it wants to eat and stop eating when it feels full? We invest so much of our energy and trust into other people, and that's where we get led astray. Just because one person loves HIIT training and that's what, a certain population of the world is saying is good for you, doesn't mean it's good for you. I know that style of training didn't work for me chronically. I became really sick from overuse and running down my body in that way. The most powerful experience you can have with your body is investing in what makes you feel good and doing more of that and developing more trust and understanding. And also, again, getting off this restriction mentality. I don't like to talk about calories, but I was taught my whole life that I should eat probably somewhere, under 1,700 calories in order to have the body I wanted. As a classic thing that we're taught, it's like the less calories you eat, the better your relationship with your body is going to be and the more weight you're going to lose. And that is so not true. When we restrict too much and we don't eat enough for our bodies and the amount of calories that we're burning in a day, especially if you're active, you actually push your body into this restriction mode where our body goes into starvation. It does all these things to slow down your metabolism, to preserve you. You actually put on weight. I remember in my days where I was on these programs and the trainers and nutritionists would say that, okay, this is the amount of calories you should stick to. And I did. My body was like heavier than it had ever been. And I'm at a stage now in my life where I'm probably eating double the amount of calories. And again, I don't like to talk about calories, but I've never eaten more actual macronutrients in my life, to the point where I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I love food. I love eating food. And my body has never been in a smaller frame. And again, it's like, not because I'm fixating it, because I'm actually just focused on bringing my body the nutrition that I want, that I know it needs. And so if it's helpful, it's like in the past, I would have been told to eat somewhere around like 1,700 or less calories a day, which is absolutely absurd for a woman who's 5'9" and exercises, a couple times a week. And now it's like I eat upwards of 23 or more 100 calories a day. And as I said, I don't restrict. My body's never been more fit. I've never weighed less in my life, and I've never focused on it less. So something's obviously working in the world when we go against what we're taught in the diet industry, which clearly never works. I've never eaten more food in my entire life. I've never slept better. I've never had more energy. I've never felt better in my body. I've never felt more confident. And it has nothing to do with me focusing on stepping on a scale or being in the conversation around weight. It's been entirely focused on abandoning that conditioning that only led me to sickness, focusing on what type of exercise feels good for me, what's the amount of times per week that feels good for me, where I know I'm still sleeping well, I feel energized, I actually enjoy the workouts, and it's not a form of punishment because someone told me I had to do it. What type of foods do I love to eat? And really practicing slowly letting go of those restrictive rules, like you can't eat carbs because they make you fat, or whatever the storyline is. Like, we need those food groups to nourish our brain and have health. And the more that I started to practice letting go of the restriction, the more enjoyment I got out of life, and the more my body became working in partnership with me, where, it's like without even trying, it's like my body is just wanting to be on the same page as me. And, again, we all have this homeostasis where our body feels comfortable and healthy. And We are taught basically our whole lives to abandon that trust within ourselves and pay someone else to tell us what to do and what to eat and how to work out. And so much of this work and the empowerment that you're going to get is abandoning all of that and coming home to yourself. So I have to be clear that there is a lot of anxiety and practice in letting go of that and coming back to trusting you. We have this habit of wanting to, peter back to that old way of just thinking that we have to restrict, and it takes time to overcome that. But I guarantee you that if you can prioritize every day, some mindfulness, whether it be meditation or you want to do stream of consciousness writing, you take care of your nervous system health, you decrease your stress levels, you start releasing this pattern of restriction, and you focus more on caring for your body. Sorry, there's a hailstorm happening outside as I'm speaking right now. The universe is agreeing. The more you're going to have the relationship with your body and your weight that you want. So, moral of the story. It's not about should you exercise more or eat less to lose weight. The key to having the relationship you want with your body is letting go of restriction and dieting, because it never works. And we know that they are designed to fail, and that less than 2% of people who ever go on a diet actually maintain any weight loss from that. And the keys to having the relationship with your body are to practice mindfulness every day in some way, to regulate your stress levels, to focus on that whole circle that is your life, and focus on how can I have more satisfaction, more fulfillment, what can I do to create more of that in my life that has nothing to do with, restriction and exercise, and more to do with, think about how can I have more fun with my friends? How can I, get involved in hobbies and activities that bring me joy? That is the sauce to having the relationship you want with your body. Focusing on exercise and movement that you feel called to do, that brings you joy, that you are living and breathing endorphins in, whether that's yoga for you, great, or whether it's Pilates, or whether it's walking, or whether it's swimming, or whether it's dancing, or whether it is weight training or HIIT training. That answer is unique to you. It's not going to come from someone telling you what to do, because if they do that and you do it and you hate it, you're basically perpetuating more stress hormones, and you are counteracting the progress of your body actually, naturally letting go of that weight. Third piece is to, again, try and release this idea that you have to fixate on the weight loss itself, because the more you fixate on that, the more you're going to push yourself away from it. I understand what you're thinking. You have this idea that if you let go of this focus on losing weight, that all of a sudden you're just going to become complacent and, lay on the couch. But I urge you to think about when you are stuck in this pattern of obsession and anxiety, how do you feel? Does it feel motivating? Do you actually get up and feel called to take positive action towards your body? The answer is likely no. It actually pushes you further into shame, which is one of the lowest vibrations that we experience in our human experience of life. And when we're in that state of emotion, our body doesn't have energy to actually move forward. We actually paralyze ourselves in the fight or flight response, so we actually don't have energy to get up and do anything productive. But conversely, which is so funny that we all have this idea that when we're compassionate towards ourselves, it means complacent. When you have energy of compassion and acceptance for yourself, what that does is actually you are operating on the higher end of the vibrational scale, where our nervous system responds with energy and vitality, and we're all of a sudden open to possibility, and we have so much energy to take action. So the irony is that the more compassionate and kind and accepting you are towards yourself and your body, and the more you practice that, the more you are open to take positive and nurturing action. And the more we are punishing ourselves and feeling insecure, the more we push ourselves further down that hole and we don't experience any shifts. One of the tools that has been instrumental in my life and healing that I teach my clients, that has been absolutely life-changing when it comes to overcoming my 20 plus year pattern of being in an unhealthy relationship with food and exercise, is EFT tapping. Emotional freedom techniques. Learning this tapping tool allows you to take power away from all those negative thoughts and anxiety. It actually counter conditions your brain when you experience those thoughts. And by taking energy and intensity away from those negative thoughts that are keeping you stuck in this loop, you actually experience freedom from them. So by focusing on them and doing this tapping exercise and giving voice to those negative thoughts and anxieties, you actually teach your brain to relieve intensity and focus behind them. And the more intensity and emotion that we take away from thoughts, the more our brain prunes them off, because it goes, oh, Giulia's not thinking these intense thoughts anymore. She doesn't have as much energy behind them. I'll just cut them away because it doesn't seem like she needs them anymore. And all of a sudden we experience freedom from them, hence why it's called emotional freedom. So if you want to learn more about that, I teach a lot of free resources on my YouTube channel that you can tap through with me and experience those positive shifts. And that totally transformed my obsession with weight and fixation on restriction and exercise, and gave me the peace and acceptance that I have with my body today. And this freedom from all of that, which is truly the biggest miracle I could have asked for in my life. So I invite you to try one of these videos here and see how you feel with that, because it is truly life-changing. So if you want to learn more about how you can free yourself from this negative cycle of fixating on dieting and over-exercising and not experiencing the relationship you want with your weight or your body, and you would truly love to be able to eat what you want in a healthy way, exercise how you feel called, be free from all these negative thoughts and insecurity, and actually have love, acceptance, and confidence for your body, I would love to support you. You can book a free 60-minute call anytime with me. And yeah, you can also download my free body confidence checklist there, and I give you lots of amazing tips on how to experience that body confidence that you are looking for. And I will be so excited to see you again next week. And thank you so much for tuning in. Love you.